Hello, and thank you for joining me. This is what I've been thinking, and I want to pick back up on some of the topics I was talking about in the last video. Um, these aren't subjects that are easy for me to talk about, so I apologize if I have to take a couple of moments to just kind of, process my thoughts and try to get them across in the best way without saying something rash or without without letting this be a complete emotion filled rant. Um, we all have feelings about um, the different I guess we'll just flat out call them the murders that have happened recently uh, with George Floyd, hashtag justice for George. Um, and the other one that's going right now with Run for Mod. And those aren't the only cases. You have Breonna Taylor, who was killed in her apartment at home because the police were given a no-knock warrant and they served it to the wrong address. Boyfriend stayed in prison not prison, but stayed detained in jail, detention center for, I believe, a few weeks. Um, he's trying to respond to what he believes are burglars breaking into his house. And he's thrown in prison while his girlfriend is shot 8 times. Then on the heels of that, you have the Ahmaud Arbery video coming out. And then for me, it was almost the same day. Was it Deshaun Reed, who was killed running from the police. I don't want to keep going down the whole laundry list of all the tragedies. I mean, it's depressing. It really, truly is depressing because, if you look at especially that last situation with George Floyd, what do you do? He's not resisting. And I try to think about that situation. If I'm down there, what would I do? My natural instinct is I'm going to try to flex my body in a way to try to get some more air. And that response is only going to get the police officer doubling down and, doing exactly what he ended up doing, killing you anyway. And so in that situation, it's a no-win situation. When you have people who are getting shot while they're complying to officers' instructions, or officers are giving them conflicting instructions and they're shooting them. What I see is you're kind of damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you get the wrong cop, this is basically just Russian roulette with a semi-automatic. The odds are not in your favor. Movies like Queen and Slim are reality, especially for people like me. That said, we can choose to only march. We can choose to be reactionary when the police decide that they want to attack and then people attack back. Or what I advocated, we could try to start advocating for things more than just that individual situation. For instance, we all want justice for all of these fallen young people, these young black souls were taken away way too early. Yes, it is important for us to apply pressure to the elected officials and mayors, governors, all these different people. It is important. But we have to start taking this step further than that. We actually have to start being smarter and start coming together with solutions. And then we have solutions. Then when we actually protest, then we have something where we can say, this is what we want. And this is the standard. You meet this, or if you don't meet that, then you're failing us. I mean, for instance, we have all these politicians who sit there and they talk about, well, we want justice for them, and hopefully that they're charged, and they say all of these different things, but there's no action behind it. I mean, it's almost just like saying the same thing any random person on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of the social media sites, or even YouTube itself, any of these different sites. But when you're an elected official, you can do more than that. That does not have to be what you decide to, where you decide to stop at the level of what you're going to do. I mean, perfect example, because of Senator Amy Klobuchar not doing her due diligence in her own previous career when she was the state AG in Minnesota, that officer who killed George had a record of shooting other people. Now, you can easily sit there and look at paperwork, and the officer can sit there and write his forms, and his partner will write up something that sounds good. And if there's not enough buzz, there's no video, the right person doesn't scream loud enough, people are not digging into it and researching and trying to figure out, okay, yes, we can demand justice for this occasion, but how do we stop these occasions from continuing to happen, especially when they get to the point of a George Floyd where there's nothing you can do there? You are completely under the control of some dickhead who thinks he needs to treat you like crap just because he's an authority figure. I don't care. I mean, people could say, well, we need to do more investigation. What investigation do you need to see? The man is in cuffs. His knee is on his neck. End of story. I don't care if he is calling him everything under the sun. I don't care if he is threatening him. I don't care if he is saying, the moment I get released, I'm going to grab your gun and shoot you. As a police officer, you have control over the situation. He is in cuffs. His words, write that up. That goes in the report. If it's a threat, then you can charge that. But deciding that you need to apply more physical pressure to, get across a point, or to assert some kind of dominance, that, you're going to listen to me. The frustration with that mentality is, law enforcement, though you are the keepers of the law, you are supposed to be working for us. We pay your salary. There's a certain amount of respect that is still owed even when we are in the wrong. I do not care what a person says to law enforcement. I don't care. I really don't even care if the person spits on law enforcement. That is part of your profession, and you are supposed to be responsible. Now, when I worked in corrections, do you think people spit on me before? Do you think somebody is possibly maybe throwing urine at me? Yeah. I've had somebody literally rub feces on themselves and then try to come and fight me. But it is not my job to decide, he ain't gonna come at me like that. I'll kick him in the face. That's not how this works. And the fact that we keep seeing these things over and over. I know what police training that they have. I know what they are and aren't supposed to do. And the thing you got to remember is all these videos, all this, body cam footage that only comes out every once in a while. These are the kind of solutions that we need to start applying pressure to change these things, to prevent more of these things. Now, I don't have all the solutions, but one idea I have is if a suspect is detained by law enforcement, it is automatically, at a minimum, involuntary manslaughter. Now, I know some people, they want to hear murder because murder sounds good. Murder is how we feel. But it's about how you argue it in a court of law. Now, in a court of law, him putting his foot on his neck it's hard to determine. For one, if you try to go first degree murder, you would have to prove that the officer came there with the specific intent to get him down on the ground and kill him. You would have to be able to prove that to us specifically. Now, unless we have psychics out there, there's no way that you could ever no way you can ever argue that and prove it in court. Second degree murder may be a possibility, but it doesn't quite fit the actual definition. If you want to get actual prison time for this individual for the crime which they are actually guilty of by the definition, it would be voluntary manslaughter. Now, it's not sexy like, ooh, we got him on a murder rap. But you know what? The amount, the time, it's not very much difference. Perfect example, you had Dante Stallworth, NFL superstar football player. Got a 7-year sentence. That's a wealthy person. I've seen people voluntary manslaughter get 20, 25, 30 to life. It doesn't matter what the name of the charge is specifically. As long as we get him on the right charge and it's actual real time. Now, myself personally, I still, even with him going to prison, unless it's major time, then I'm not going to be content or happy at all. Because it's going to send a signal to other law enforcement agents. If you are in this situation where you were reckless and you took someone's life, or you intentionally tried to take this person's life, or you made a bad judgment call, that's not going to be acceptable anymore. You are going to have to back up what you do and verify it. You are going to have some accountability. In the military, we have what we call ROEs, rules of engagement. Now, rules of engagement, you can't just decide to start popping off shots here and there just because you personally felt scared. It is not about how much of a coward you are in this situation. You took on the job of law enforcement because you wanted to protect and serve. That requires for you to take some risk with your life, not with other people's lives. A video that I saw just recently really bothered me. I watched a young man who was terrified to come forward. It was 5 officers who were holding guns on him. He's laying, I guess, in his grandmother's front yard. if it wasn't for the advocacy from a couple of the young females who were, or I'm sorry, I'll say ladies. The females just kind of doesn't ring off the tongue. Sounds kind of nasty, but the young ladies, young women who were advocating fiercely on his behalf. Because of the way they advocated, it made those 5 men with guns actually hesitate. It made them not be able to just go forward with what they were planning on doing. Now, that's part of some of the things that we need to do. I mean, us as individuals, if we can't get legislation passed, then one of the things we can do is start trying to be as involved as possible. If you see law enforcement jamming up another person of color, be over there, be a witness, bring a camera, get other people to bring their cameras. Because that's the one thing I've noticed. The one common thread is none of these cops like cameras. And cameras expose them. Cameras are the only way you can fight them back because our legislators don't want to. I will talk about that a little bit more. Excuse me. I'll talk about that a little bit more about what some of our legislators could be doing. But I will leave this. I'll leave it at that. You guys have a good one. Thank you.